with some looks at the women's boots. This time it's the women's Magista Obra. So obviously you get boots, and as always, string bag. This one is just in Volt and black. So, take a look at the boot. You've got a Volt Flyknit upper with black Flyknit woven through the textured areas wrapping around the upper. White swooshes on the outside and on the inside of the boot. Volt dynamic fit collar with a black accent around the top. Black branding around the back. And then a blue Lagoon outsole with the one Nike hit right there. So guys, getting into some of the technical details on this boot, starting off with the upper, you have the Flyknit making up the entire upper of the boot, wrapping all the way up into the dynamic fit collar. You have black Flyknit woven between the yellow Flyknit that makes up the majority of the boot, with that NikeSkin coating over the entire thing. You do have the Brio cables, formerly known as Flywire, that go up to the laces. It's going to be really tough to see because they're kind of woven within the pattern of that honeycomb type texturing you have. So it's going to be tough to see, but they are there. So that allows for a really snug fit when you lace the boot up. As you pull each lace tight, it pulls the entire upper into your foot, essentially giving you a really, really snug fit within the boot and a really sturdy fit when you're planning and turning and really digging your boot into the ground. So that's a noticeable feature, kind of overlooked sometimes, but definitely makes a really big difference. Taking a look at the outsole, as I mentioned, it's entirely blue Lagoon. You have the conical studs, get that in focus, conical studs all around with the two support studs there, with the one small bladed stud at the forefront of the foot. And get that in focus, bit out of focus right there. There we go. One bladed stud up top. One thing to mention, this Magista outsole, as with the men's Magistas as well, is a bit stiffer than what you'll find on the Hypervenom 2 as well as the Superfly 4. Something it breaks in after a few hours of play, but just right out the box, it is a bit stiffer than some of the other boots with the dynamic fit collar. Just one thing to keep in mind. And speaking of the dynamic fit collar, as I mentioned, it is that Flyknit upper that wraps all the way up to it, so you will get that elasticated Flyknit that will hug your ankle up top. It's backed with the black Flyknit, so as it does stretch, you can see the black behind it. Hopefully, camera's catching that. As I mentioned before, you have the black Magista at the back. This is one thing to take note. If you watched the Hypervenom 2 video that we had just uploaded, you'll notice that we talked about how Nike changed the seam to wrap up the side of the collar rather than directly up the back. I know I had some trouble with my Superflies where the back material here was giving me blisters because it was directly on your Achilles and on your heel. It does break in, but it does take a bit of time. For me, it was about a week and a couple days, where I was playing maybe 3 or 4 times a week for a couple hours at a time before it finally felt really, really comfortable with my Superfly 4s. I'm assuming it's going to be about the same with the Magistas because it is that same type of material, but definitely not something that should turn you away from this boot. I personally really like the dynamic fit collar now. It's something it definitely took me a bit to get used to, but after I was used to that feeling of being wrapped around my ankle, I really liked that seamless fit you had from the top of your ankle where it felt like it kind of morphed straight from your stock all the way into your boot. Give a really comfortable fit and a really responsive, snug boot on your foot. One thing I didn't mention, on the Magista you will have the external heel counter, which will give you a bit more sturdiness and a bit more support in the heel compared to the internal ones that's offered on the Hypervenom 2 as well as the Superfly 4. So just another thing to think about with that when you're comparing the boots. You do, as expected, have the all conditions control coating across the whole boot. This comes in especially handy with the Flyknit. Obviously you have the exposed Flyknit coming through underneath the laces as well as the dynamic fit collar with the elasticated Flyknit. And that ACC coating really plays a big part in this. Obviously with just plain yarn that would normally make up normal Flyknit, it's going to soak up a lot of water, but with that ACC coating, it essentially makes it slightly water repellent, allowing for your boot to stay more dry than you would expect it to in wet weather, and as well as also giving you a better touch on the ball in wet conditions over that NikeSkin. This boot being inspired by the Women's World Cup and going along with the Women's U.S. National Team kits, it's the first time Nike's actually made a boot to go along with a women's kit in that full top-to-bottom look. If you've seen them, you know that they have the Volt socks that fade kind of right in, which I think looks really, really cool. Even though it is a women's colorway for this boot with women's sizing, I think this boot looks better than the Hypervenom 2, just based on appearance with that Volt upper. This boot definitely offers more of a cushion feeling for the upper compared to the Superfly or the Hypervenom 2. The Hypervenom 2 is kind of in the middle with that range, with the Superfly being the thinnest. Magista will give you that bit of a cushioned feel. It does have a thin layer of mesh lining there. You have that in addition to the Flyknit, which will give you a bit of a, just as I mentioned, a bit of a cushioned feeling for the upper. And just to clarify, the Nike Dynamic Fit collar on these boots isn't designed to give you added support, added stability, anything like that. It's designed to give it a full sock-like feeling flowing from your ankle all the way down your boot to kind of make you feel connected with your boot. It's a bit of a funny description, but when you do put the boot on, you get this feeling of putting on a sock where it doesn't feel like you have something hanging off your foot like you would kind of get ideal with a shoe, but almost feels like it's supposed to be there. It's fully connected in all the right spots. It gives you, just personally, I think, a really, really good fit for a football boot. So guys, obviously these being a 6.5 women's, being an extremely small boot, I won't be able to try them on for you, but we will bring in Joelle again. She'll give you a look on feet and then give you a little bit of her opinion on how they fit and feel, and then we'll wrap the video up after that. So let's head down to her and see what she thinks.
So before we go into how these felt on my foot, I just want to go over some of the Nike sizing right now. So these are a 6.5 women's. All of the Nike Women's World Cup footwear comes in women's sizes. So this is a 6.5. Normally in Nike sneakers, I'm a 6.5 or a 7. It kind of just depends on how the shoes fit. In my running sneakers, those are the Lunar Flyknits. I wear a 7. I have other Nike sneakers like the Free Runs that are 6.5. So I'm kind of in between there. I decided to order 6.5 in these. Normally you want your cleats to be pretty much snug right away. You don't want too much space at the toe because they do kind of stretch a bit, especially with this Flyknit upper. This will stretch. You don't want more than 1/4 of an inch or about 1/2 a thumb at the top of the boot. So these Magistas are available to order from sizes 6 to 12 in women's. So that means that if you are a man and you want to buy these shoes, which you can because they are not a women's specific cut, it's just women's sizes. So they will fit the same as the normal Magista. You just have to kind of convert your men's footwear size to the women's. So it's a 1.5 size difference. So if you are a 9 in men's, you'll have to order a 10.5 in women's. And since these go up to 12, actually 12 or 13, then, you know, most men will have their size covered. So now to go over the fit of these, like I said, I ordered a 6.5 in these, and my toe, I really had a good amount of space in the top there. Not too much, but it felt really, really comfortable right off the bat. If you caught my other review of the Hypervenom 2, that one I had a little bit less space, so I would definitely just stick with my 6.5 in this one, and definitely not go up to a 7, whereas with the Hypervenom 2, I felt like I could almost have fit into a 7, and it would have been a lot more comfortable right off the bat. So putting my foot into these right away, I noticed how comfortable they are. It really is kind of like putting your foot into a sock, kind of like a heavy-duty sock. I definitely felt that the material really conformed to my foot. it really felt like I would have a lot of good, like good touch and ball control playing with these. So one of the things that I didn't really love too much about this boot is the dynamic fit collar. It really does feel a little bit more stiff than that Nike Hypervenom 2 collar, which felt really soft and kind of like a sock. This one feels like maybe they did it because it has more support to it, but it definitely feels like it's going to take a little while to break it in and really feel comfortable playing with this. It might take a little while to get used to. I think having this band in the back here might also not be as comfortable as it would be with that asymmetrical band that you can see in the Hypervenom 2 that goes kind of away from the tendon where it's really prominent, sticking out in the back of your ankle here. All in all, though, I do really love these. I think there's, I was surprised at how much support there was. It didn't really feel like it would be kind of flimsy. It feels definitely like it will be durable, and it also feels like such a nice close touch to your foot that it will be really great to play in these. So I think I would definitely choose these to wear over the Hypervenom 2s if you're looking for those boots with the dynamic fit collar there. Just to reiterate with these, this is the same fit as it would be for the men's shoe. It's just in women's sizing, so men, if you do like this colorway and you want to get these, just remember that it's a 1.5 shoe size conversion. So like I said before, if you are a 9 in men's, you're going to be ordering these in a 10.5 in the women's sizes.
So guys, again, thanks to Joelle for coming in and giving us a bit of an on-feet look and review of the Magista Obra and the Women's World Cup colorway. So if you guys want to see some more detailed shots of this, check out our Instagram at ECSoccerShop. As expected with the Magista Obra, these do come in at the $275 price point. Unfortunately, as of right now, we don't carry this boot in our online shop, but you can check out the rest of our selection at eastcoastsoccershop.com. We are still running the code LAUNCH10, so take advantage of that to get 10% off your order before that code disappears. Hopefully I've covered everything you guys want to know about the Magista Obra. As mentioned, it's the exact same boot as the men's Magista Obra. The only difference is the colorway and the sizing. If you guys have any other questions about this boot or the Magista Obra in general, let us know in the comments. Either myself or Joelle will get back to you as soon as we can. Hopefully answer all of your questions. With that, guys, that's all I have for you today. We'll see you in the next video.